Okay. All right, is everyone ready?
Yep.
Welcome and thank you for coming. This is the Halifax Regional Municipality, Community of Tantallon Wildfire Update. Today is May 31st and it's approximately 5 p.m. in the afternoon. My name is Dave Meldrum. I am a Deputy Chief with Halifax Regional Fire and Emergency. Also with us today, we have David Steeves, a Forest Resources Technician with the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables, and Corporal Guy Tremblay from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Again, thank you for coming. It's a busy day today. On behalf of Halifax Regional Fire and Emergency, I can give you a brief update, and it's largely business as usual. We continue to work this fire with our partner agencies, and our crews in the divisions are reporting that they're chasing flare-ups and hot spots, but things are generally going as expected given the weather prediction for this afternoon. We did increase our resources slightly. We got a few more vehicles and crews in to help us this afternoon. So we're approximately, and this does float as units come in and out, but we've got about 9 fire engines here today, 15 tankers, 2 of the D&D brush units that are doing great work, and about 110 personnel. And I remind you, those numbers do go up and down as the day goes on. We did send a couple additional units to the Farmers Lane site. I know there's some interest in that site. That last report that I received, things were going well there. There had been some flare-ups, but they are being managed effectively. David.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dave Steeves, the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables. As my colleague just alluded to, our crews were busy this afternoon chasing smokes and other areas of concern. We were ensuring that they were attacking and addressing all of these issues obviously with safety in mind given the current conditions. The winds are about where we expected them to be. One of the measurements that we use to measure fire behavior is what we call FFMC, or our fine fuel moisture content. Basically what that means is the amount of moisture that is left in the really small stuff, the twigs and the leaves and whatnot. That is very high. Those numbers give us the science to plan ahead for issues that could possibly come down the road. So where our numbers are sitting at today, the possibility for spotting is on the radar. We haven't had any spotting yet, but we're planning all of our direct and indirect attacks as though that it is a definite possibility. We have increased our heavy equipment on the site, so we are going from a more traditional approach, which is hose lines and digging fire out, to more of a heavy equipment approach. We've got a number of pieces of equipment, and we're putting in dozer brakes in specific areas around the fire. And as far as I know from speaking with our ops coordinator, he's happy where we are. But at the present time, we are approaching the time in the afternoon when the hazards begin to rise. So between 5 and 7 is kind of the magic timeline when things can get hairy. So we are watching things very, very closely. We also did get a CL-415 to come to our incident today, so we are glad to have them. That and the air resources that we listed this morning in regards to the 3 helicopters are continuing to work the fire.
What's a CL-415?
CL-415. It's one of the large water bombers that we've been seeing here the last number of days.
That's a big airplane.
Yes, yes. So I will turn things over to my colleague.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Corporal Guy Tremblay, Public Information Officer for Halifax District RCMP. This afternoon, we'd like to thank the public for their patience with our officers at the checkpoints, and we want to remind the public that our officers are out actively patrolling the neighborhoods that have been evacuated to ensure everything is safe. Also, a quick reminder to the public that the airspace is restricted, so ensure that you're not flying drones in the area or that your boats are not out on the water. This ensures that firefighters can continue their hard work and put out the flames faster. In regards to possible scams that are out there in relation to relief or any aid in regards to the fires, please seek halifax.ca information and authentic phone numbers. Do not respond to text messages that could be scams. Any weird calls or numbers that you don't recognize are more than likely scams as well. So make sure you seek the authentic numbers from halifax.ca to get the proper information for relief. In regards to appropriate use of 911, if there's life in danger or any other emergency regarding property safety, please do dial 911 if it's urgent. If it's not urgent, for other matters, please dial non-emergency numbers or contact your local RCMP detachment to seek assistance. En français, alors je continue ce soir de remercier le public de leur patience avec nos policiers au point de contrôle sur nos routes. Nos policiers patrouillent activement tous les quartiers qui sont évacués pour assurer que tout est sécuritaire. Alors, on continue aussi au public de leur rappeler que l'espace aérien est restreint. Alors, on ne veut pas voir de drones qui survolent les environs. Ça pourrait nuire énormément aux efforts des pompiers, ainsi que les bateaux. N'allez pas sur les lacs ou dans les endroits évacués ou dans les endroits près des évacuations. Les aéronefs vont chercher de l'eau fréquemment pour aider à éteindre les feux. En ce qui concerne les fraudes, faites sûr d'obtenir l'information crédible sur halifax.ca. Des textes ou des numéros de téléphone que vous ne connaissez pas, ça pourrait être facilement des fraudes qui essaient de vous contacter. En ce qui concerne les animaux qui ont été laissés derrière, s'il vous plaît, contactez la SPCA pour faire des arrangements. Ils sont nos partenaires avec nos efforts pour essayer de retrouver les animaux qui sont laissés derrière durant les évacuations. Et ils vont faire un plaisir de vous aider. One last point in English, if you have forgotten any pets during the evacuation, please contact the SPCA to make arrangements with them. They're our partners in this and they will assist us in reuniting you with your pets. I'll take any questions in French. Je vais prendre des questions en français pour...
Est-ce qu'on peut avoir un petit peu l'état de la situation que votre collègue a énoncé en anglais? Est-ce que vous pourriez nous faire un petit briefing en français?
Oui, absolument. Alors, le département des ressources naturelles a précisé qu'entre 5h et 7h le soir, c'est vraiment l'état critique, surtout avec la météo. La chaleur est très élevée ce soir, l'humidité est très basse. Alors, on garde un œil sur les feux en ce moment pour faire sûr que tout le périmètre est contrôlé. Alors, les feux ne sont toujours pas sous contrôle et c'est vraiment l'état critique à chaque jour là, entre 5 et 7 heures le soir. Ils ont mentionné aussi des ressources, 3 hélicoptères ainsi qu'un avion 415 pour bombarder les feux avec de l'eau et ça aide énormément. Avez-vous d'autres questions en français? Any other questions in French? I'll turn to English questions, please.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, that's perfect.
Deputy Chief, yesterday the latest numbers we had were damaged buildings, at or around 200 buildings that were pretty much destroyed, I was told, around 151 houses. Do you have any updated numbers on that situation? I have two questions.
Yeah, no worries. So the answer, yesterday and before we gave our broad estimates of 200 damaged properties, approximately 150 of which are homes. We don't have updated numbers yet. But what I can tell you is good news. Our folks have been working really hard today to go, and again, remember, we're auditing every property in the fire zone. And we are marking them in our GIS, or Geographic Information System. And that work is almost complete. At 4 p.m. we were over 90% complete. That data will need to be recovered, analyzed. We'll have to do quality assurance to make sure it's accurate. There are no, for instance, duplicates or missing properties. When that work is complete, then the municipality will have that data, and they are planning how we will contact residents and distribute the numbers to everyone who really, really needs to know.
And the second question on the tonality of what you're accomplishing. Yesterday at 9 in the morning, there was some optimism. You used the word stabilized, and I can tell you weren't making advances, but you felt good about the situation from a progress standpoint.
I believe this is a stressful time. It's taking considerable time, and we're containing this fire with our partners. But every day that goes by without rain, and every day that the temperature goes up, and every day that the winds are significant, allows those fuels that David Steeves is talking to us about to become more and more volatile. You know, yesterday I spoke to one of our firefighters who said, you can stamp on an ember, it won't go out. You can stamp on it and step back and it reignites. You've got to apply water. It's so very, very dry. And on that point, I'd like to take this opportunity to remind everyone of the importance of not burning. We've heard it and we've said it and we'll say it again. There is no burning permitted anywhere in the province and certainly nowhere within the Halifax Regional Municipality. As a fire service, we like to be proactive and take an education-based approach. We educate residents and help them understand what the burning restrictions are and why they're important. But be assured, this is serious, and as a municipality, we are researching the compliance measures that we have available to us.
On that note, here's a stay out of the woods order that's brought as well. It's impossible to miss. Less than a kilometer down the road, they're cutting a road through the woods right off the highway. And the equipment going, it's 27 degrees and breezy. Should that operation be happening right now?
I would say no. Again, the order, as I understand it, is to stay out of the woods. We know equipment use is a possible ignition source for fires. I actually plead with operators to use good common sense and to be conscientious. We've got a lot of people who aren't home tonight. And for them and all the other people who are nervous about their situation, let's do everything we can.
I saw a news release, the mayor said the fines for fires anywhere from $250 to $10,000. And then a second email from Department of Resources said $25,000. So could you get $10,000 fine and a $25,000 fine? I'm trying to measure the strictness of this rule.
Right. So I'm neither an enforcement officer nor a lawyer, but it is true that the municipality and the province have separate and distinct acts, bylaws, and regulations. So theoretically, it's possible that one person could be facing jeopardy under two different sources. I don't know if you want to have any.
No, I think your answer is correct there. There could be maybe a difference between you know, a lot of times with those fines, it could be a business commercial fine versus individual person fine. But as the deputy chief said there are different acts that the fines could be under, and we'd have to follow up with you specifically which fine would be issued in that case. Thank you.
That's mentioned in your remarks that you're fire areas where you see people coming through the woods to their properties, or have you noticed any kind of looting or anything like that?
So in regards to patrolling, we are actively patrolling the areas. If you are noticing anyone out there crossing into the woods, please call your local RCMP detachment. We haven't received any reports of suspicious activity thus far, but our officers are out there routinely patrolling. For certain, it's difficult. You know, those communities have been evacuated, so in theory, there shouldn't be anyone present to call in those suspicious activities. So that's why we're there in so many numbers to patrol those evacuated areas. Again, if you do see suspicious activity of people heading into the woods near those evacuated zones, certainly report it to RCMP officers or your local RCMP detachment. It's not only a danger for looting or thefts, it's also a danger for themselves heading into the woods. There's active fires out there, as the firefighters said, and it's very dangerous for first responders that may have to go in after them, or for the people themselves that are heading in there.
I have a question for Mr. Steeves, if you got a second. You were talking about your shifting strategy a little bit with the heavy machinery. I assume you're combining that with as much water as you can put down as possible, right?
100%.
In layman's terms, what is the point of the heavy machinery today? What does that do?
So,
that's different from yesterday.
Yeah, so there's two types of attack that we do. Direct attack, which is where we're spraying water directly on a fire, or indirect attack, which is where we are removing vegetation from an approaching fire. So the purpose of that is if we take a large swath of area in front of the fire's path and remove everything that has the possibility to burn, if the intensity levels are low enough, when it burns up to that break, it will have nowhere to go and it will snuff itself out. This is such a large area that our traditional methods of moving around the perimeter with a hose would be very difficult.
So you're making like a moat kind of thing, right? So it can't jump across. How are you getting rid of those trees? Do they knock down with a dozer, or you got to cut them?
Same idea. Yeah, we're removing the vegetation, cutting it, moving it. Anything that we can do, get down to that mineral soil. The mineral soil is what is the key point, because there's nothing in there to burn. Yeah. So when it hits that, in most times, if conditions are right, it's dead in its tracks. So we're hopeful that if those brakes are needed, they're there and they will function as we want them to.
Deputy Chief Meldrum, Mayor said yesterday that they were going to take a look at reducing the size of that evacuation zone. This morning, conditions changed, so we said that wasn't going to happen today. Is there a possibility that's going to happen tomorrow?
So the incident commander again communicated with municipal staff on the issue of the evacuation zones. There was a good discussion about what might happen, what could happen. The IC has not made a decision to withdraw any of the evacuated areas right now. I don't know what that decision will be, but it's certainly evident, as the question indicates, that the weather and fire conditions are still worrisome.
What's the prognosis for tomorrow?
With regard to evacuations,
Firefighting.
this weather is increasing in severity. It's going to continue to be dry. It's going to get even warmer, so the prognosis is difficult.
This time yesterday, there was a fire that broke out in Hammonds Plains. What about like right now? What in the past couple of hours, are there any new flare-ups that we need to know about that you're aware of?
Most of my focus has been on this site, as you can imagine, but I am aware that there was a fire in the brush in the woods in the Peggy's Cove area of the regional municipality. Again, an outside fire that initial reports indicate should not have happened. So that's been contained and things are looking good there. They're under control. But there are small fires often throughout the municipality, and our dispatch center is getting also reports of people burning. So again, as I said before, you can't burn. It's against the law, but more importantly, it's the wrong thing to do for the people who live here.
In the woods around Peggy's Cove, and you said that it shouldn't have happened? In other words, it was
human caused. That's the initial indications. Yes, it should not have happened.
When was that?
It was this afternoon. My information is very limited.
Yeah.
How close to Peggy's Cove?
I haven't map plotted. I'm here, so I don't have that information. Thank you very much for attending the briefing. We will brief again at